a little bit more basketball to get into. I have a question for y'all. And low key, I've asked this question to Gail already, like indirectly, but I'm curious on what this like, how this will fare, like, amongst other people that enjoy talking NBA. So, Jalen Brunson, Trey Young, strictly looking at players, who's better?
It's what you're. It depends on what your team needs. What is your team looking for? Player for
I
player,
don't player for
they
player. I don't want to hear about what the team need.
both have the same deficiencies. Trey is
Yeah.
probably a better creator.
For others,
I don't
Yeah,
agree.
you think Brunson is better at creating for others?
No, I don't think they have the same deficiencies.
defensively, they are the same liability.
I
They,
can't.
they were they were in the metrics that Jimmy High Roller video in terms of highest to lowest. Like the lowest defensive rating in terms of their team. It's Luca was a net neutral. It was Jalen Brunson, Trey Young. Trey Young was the worst. Uh, Darius Garland and a couple others. Damian Lillard.
So I hear you on the deficiencies part, but I think like if you just solely looking at it defensively, then like okay, cool. Like but it's a lot of point guards. It's a lot of point guards that play the way they play that just aren't necessarily going to be stellar on the other
The
side of the
defensive,
ball.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Where it's like it's hard. It is hard. It is you're splitting hairs.
But I'm saying you can split hairs all you want to, but take the deficiencies out of it. I'm just asking who's the best because Miguel, you know what Aker said.
I Trey, where it's like like I said, it is a very close. It is very close. I really I was saying this where it's like we've just gotten to a point where Jalen has been so I don't want to say so overrated, but let's be honest, like he's on New York.
You think he's overrated?
Where Jalen has been overrated, Trey's been underrated, and I think that the difference between the two is razor thin.
I I think Jalen is more on an upward trajectory,
100%.
mainly because of how his career has looked. He had a great run in Dallas, especially that postseason before they didn't sign him. And then even when he signed to New York, nobody expected him to make the jump that he did. But he was also on a stage where you couldn't miss the jump because it's New York, right? Whereas Trey been putting up the same numbers for the last 3, 4 years, and I don't think too many people forget, that run that they had back in 21 where they knocked off the Knicks, where they knocked off Philly, where if they was healthy, they probably would have pushed Milwaukee a little bit harder than what they already did. So like I don't think people are lost on how good Trey is. I just think because Trey isn't playing on a contender or a team even close to contending for real, that it's kind of like you not looking at Trey no different than you looking at LaMelo for real. It ain't a question of the talent. It's just like if it's not translating to winning, especially in the postseason, what does it matter past a certain conversation of just acknowledging the talent? So I think that's the main difference between the two. But I do agree, you splitting hairs when you looking at like which player to choose. It does come down to preference. It does come down to what the team needs. I think if I had to pick, gun to my head, I'm going Brunson because I think that Brunson is a bigger difference maker. Is Trey a better creator for others? Yes. But like as much as Brunson ain't Trey, Trey definitely ain't Brunson. So that's how like it's still splitting hairs, it's still close, but that's how I would decide. Like even though they're both at a deficit when you think about it this way, I still think Brunson has a better chance of leading your team further
I-
than Trey
If
does.
you need to win a game, who are you going with?
Brunson.
And I just feel like
But
Jalen
late
Brunson
clock
is more
situation,
consistent.
What you say?
late game clock situation, I'm taking Trey.
You said
If
Oh,
game
I
clock situation.
Yeah, if it's like game like a whole game for a whole game, I'm going Jalen Brunson. If it's a game winning moment where I need to give someone the ball, I'm giving it to Trey Young.
What? Wait a minute. Wait. Why? Like is Trey
Based
more clutch than Brunson to you?
Yeah. He's at like a 50% clip in terms of like game winning situations, like when the ball's in his hands. Yes. Oh, yeah.
I I hear you because I get how Trey is dangerous in the clutch because of what he can do for others. You have to guard both.
And
Like
he'll hit like I've
he
seen it.
will, but also I that's just tough. I've seen Brunson on his like make it happen on his own in the clutch at that.
Let me pull up the data.
What data we talking? Clutch
Clutch,
numbers?
yeah, clutch rating Trey versus
Oof. What's the rating based off of?
I think field goal percentage in the last 5 minutes in a 5 point game, or last 2 minutes in a 5 point game. Uh, this year, Jalen Brunson leads in points per game and field goals made. Hold on, while Trey Young leads in total clutch points, 152, and is third in points per game. Damn, show me the
well, how
clutch.
much does that have to do with them being in more clutch games, like close games?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where it's like if it's in a late game situation, give me Trey. If I need to win a game holistically, Jalen Brunson, which doesn't really answer the question in terms of who I'd take, but it kind of gives an inkling, an insight on terms of like how I'm trying to answer this question. Where it
You're saying in certain scenarios you'd go with one or the other. But Steve
they
is saying like if you had to choose, we're player for
going to win
player.
a championship neither. Gun in my head, take them both. Uh, great players, but in the however long you want to look at the NBA in terms of winning a chip, they need to be a great piece to a great formula. But if you're looking for a team to build around, I'm taking my luck in the draft.
If you're looking for a team to build around, I don't know if I would say that it's easier, but
To
it's
take Jalen because of the
well, no.
trajectory.
Well, I'm saying I could easily see taking Trey because it's easier to build around a pass first guard. Like, so if you put pieces around Trey that are actually threats that he can pass to, it just opens up his game even more, right? So
Yeah.
like if I'm building a team and I want to take Trey Young as my point guard, like you look at it simple as this. If you put Trey Young on the Knicks, right? Maybe not with the current roster because the wings are more meant to be defensive specialists than they
Yeah.
are offensive minded. But if you put Trey Young on the Knicks team, I mean, I'm for the sake of the conversation. If you put Trey Young on the Knicks, I don't think the Knicks got worse, right? Especially the way the roster is currently constructed now, because now you can still play through Cat, and you didn't lose that much offense in reality, right? But now you can't double Trey either, right? So the same way people don't really like you can't really double Brunson for real, unless you got the personnel to. If you put Brunson on the Hawks, it would be the same conversation we having about Trey. Brunson's numbers would probably be great, but if the team wasn't winning, it wouldn't really matter. So I think if you put Trey on a contender, I think it'd be a much different conversation and you'd have more people split because then we'd be bringing into the factor like, okay, both the teams are good. Both of them have these aspirations. Both of them are the same tier of contenders, maybe. So it gets a little bit more interesting and dicey, like in that regard. But yeah, I like the question because I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
It is preference. It is what you like, what you want, what the team needs. Because I think player for player, they do essentially offer the same thing, just differently. They offer the same impact. That's the best way I can put it. They offer the same impact. I'll say that. But but yeah. But yeah. Got another point guard question though. Okay. Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray. Who's the better player?
Currently, Donovan.
Currently, Donovan. Was there ever a point where Murray was better?
Oh, certainly.
Definitively.
Playoff series.
Absolutely.
Utah versus the Nuggets.
Yeah.
He was better in that series? Because Donovan Mitchell, I mean, he won the series, but Mitchell went crazy.
One. He
Well, I
and
mean, like from that time, saying from that time on, in terms of like that was the span from that bubble series, like on in terms of like impact on teams.
Okay. So Mitchell is the better player now, and we going off of that. That he's the better player right now.
You know those waves, like noise canceling wavelength. Check up the noise canceling wavelength. It's like that. They just flip.
yeah,
over.
since the fine, it's like a DNA strand.
Yep,
Um,
yep. It's going back
so
and
so if I ask you who's the better playoff performer,
Wait a minute. Okay. Since the finals that Denver won,
hmm,
it's been Donovan. Uh, no, that's
like, that's when he turns up. That's when he remembers he's a basketball player.
yeah.
exactly. So I think that overall, even throughout their careers, I think that Mitchell in general is the better player. He has better career stats. This, that, and the third. Donovan Mitchell is also one of not that many players that has averaged 20 points per game every season in his career, at least. That's not a long list. I don't have the list in front of me, but it's not a long list. It's like 7 or 8 people, if that.
Yeah.
I think that Jamal Murray is the better playoff performer as it currently stands. I'm not saying that Mitchell has not had his moments, but I think overall we've seen Murray rise to the occasion more in the playoffs across his career than Mitchell. So that's where I see the split. In a way, very similar to the Brunson and Trey argument. It's like you're kind of looking at the same player, kind of sort of like the games are different, but they do the same thing. They can have the same impact generally, but I do think that Murray tends to turn it up a little bit more in the playoffs, at least based off what we've seen. Can Mitchell kill that narrative this season? Absolutely. Yet to be seen.
Yep. We will see. You know my thoughts.
My hope when I was doing the research on this, my hope was that Murray's playoff numbers were better than Mitchell's, but they aren't.
Yeah, because Murray's not the number one option.
He's not. Murray had bigger moments.
Yeah.
He's had bigger moments.